Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Thursday, April 9th. We are in a holding pattern right now. We'll see what happens going into the weekend and the Iranian situation. Market looks like it's in a holding pattern as well. It's nothing much happening in the directional moves going into the overnight. Pretty much we just flopping around, twisting in the wind here, waiting. So we'll see. I mean, that's not much, no need to spend time on that now. We'll see after the weekend what happens and the next steps are there. Then the market reacts to that. The news this morning, we've been waiting for the whole both Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was kind of light on news. Now today we get numbers, we get GDP, jobless claims, personal income and outlays, corporate profits. Now, I have delayed markers on my GDP and personal income numbers. I hope they come out. I'm going to assume they come out. For some reason, I can never freaking figure that out because one day they show delayed and it comes out, another one shows delayed and it doesn't. So I haven't figured out how they try to mark that up, but I have it on the calendar: GDP and personal income, so which means that we have that PCE index in there, inflation read. Then on Friday we get both CPI and consumer sentiment coming out, another inflation read on Friday. So that's going to be the short-term market moving event. So I would just start off range bound right now. I'm going to watch this lower level, the 16.780s. I'm going to watch this upper level, the 68.50s and 45s. And pretty much that's the range we're going to be trading in, at least to get started. If they start trading below this area, the 67.80s, we have a lot of retracements we can do. If they start taking out the highs, I mean, we're probably going to run up to 68.80s. I would expect them to probably stall around about there. I'm not sure we're going to get the big continuation rally unless we get clarity in that Iranian situation. Also, if we get the PCE in the harder than expected inflation read, I mean, that is expected this time around. Both the CPI and the PCE would probably be higher. It should be higher given the oil popping, and it's been like that for a month. So those reports should be picking that up. So I would expect a higher read than normal, and let's see if the market reacts to that with some sanity, or if it's going to be like a flip out reaction. But I would expect the market discounts some of that, even if it looks like a really bad number, because it's oil just doubled in the last like 40, 50 days. So that's where we are, or 30 days. So so looking to buy weakness against the 67.90s and the 67.80s. Looking to sell strength against the 68.15s, 68.25s, 68.35s, 68.45s for rotations down again. Pretty straightforward analysis, and that just reflects that we don't know quite. We have a few curveballs which potentially could be thrown at us. If for some reason this whole thing falls apart before the weekend, the Iranian thing that is, we probably see a move to the downside, retracing some of the gains. If nothing happens and they blustering back and forth, probably we just stay kind of where we are, twisting in the wind until after the weekend, and we'll see. Then we'll see. I wouldn't not be surprised if we see some weakness going into the weekend as well. I mean, it's going to be a trade-off for traders if they're going to stay long. I mean, if the talks comes out great and everyone is on the same page, yeah, the market's going to keep going, and they would be out. They can, if they sell everything before the weekend, it would be in world of hurt getting that back. Chances are very low for that. That's not going to happen. It's going to be something coming out. It's going to be modeled and a little bit confused, but we'll see if they can make a judgment if it's worth working with. The Nasdaq, same story there. They're up here bouncing up against this the 120 area. They've taken out a couple of times. I may have to adjust this area right now in a bit you see here that this ledge area, this ledge at the 25 220s on the F1 seems to be a little bit more dominant. And they can run past this one a couple of times. So I may adjust that later. But I would say that Nasdaq is in pretty much the same spot. Looking to buy weakness against the 980s and the 24 930s. They're going to sell strength against the 25,080s, 150s, 190s, up to the 250s for rotations back down again. Same exact analysis, twisting in the wind in the range. If they start taking out that low 930s, we may have a lot of retracement in front of us. Same story on the way up. If they start taking out the highs, we may have a little rally on our hands. And as I said, I'm not expecting that rally by any means, not before the weekend. If anything, I would probably expect that going into the after next weekend, or after this weekend, if everything goes well. Otherwise, we might find ourselves exactly back to where we started. So we will find out. But we have news this morning, and that news could potentially move the market, probe it. I would not expect it to directionally move it a whole lot. The only thing I can see caveat on the news is that if there's a big pop on the inflation, if the market reacts negatively, we may see a little bit of selling based on that. But as I said, if they start taking out these lows at the 930s and the or the 6780s on the ES, I would be trading this on a short side, looking for retracement. That's kind of the dynamic I would be looking for. So anytime you have a big repricing like we had the other day, as a complete massive euphoric repricing to the upside. Yesterday's trading, as you can see, wasn't too bad. I mean, they traded from the 68.45s all the way down to the 67.80s. That would be like a 60-point range. Not totally bad for the ES, even if it was kind of whippy. Now today it's going to be a little bit more of a okay. We know what the range is. Let's see if they're going to try to take it higher or lower, or they're just going to be sitting there flopping around, twisting in the wind until we get more clarity. The news we have today potentially could move us. If anything, I would expect it to move us to the downside. If the inflation read is higher, if the inflation read doesn't come out as high as you would expect, they actually, it's a lower read, that could actually give us a little tailwind. But I'll believe that when I see it, right? So that's kind of how I'm going to get started this morning. Looking to sell strength by weakness on the ES, watching that lower edge at 67.80. Now I'm looking to buy against that 67.19, 67.80. Looking to sell against the 68.15, 25, 35, 45s. And on the NASDAQ, looking to buy against the 980s and the 930s, sell against the 25,070 to 80s, 150s, 190s, up to the 250s for rotations back down again. So that's the that's our ES and the NASDAQ. On the bond side of things, here you go, bonds. Not seeing a lot of movement there either. Not a big reaction either there. They went back down into the 114s and pretty much in a tight range. So the bond market is a holding pattern as well. Not going to worry too much about that guy. Again, looking to buy weakness at this point from where they are at. If you look at the bigger picture, it's going back and forth. And you can see on the bigger picture, we are drifting back to value again. So this whole distribution right now, we kind of fold that back together. You can see that we are pretty much back here in that upper attractor area. So and be adjusting these levels a little bit, but over time, we're not really falling out of bed in terms of the bond market trading in this range here. So I would just stay range bound, looking to buy weakness against the 114s, against the 13. I'm gonna have to move that to see. They're going to buy against 114s, 113.25s, 13.20s. They're going to sell strength against 14.08s, 15.16s, up to the 22.23s, rotations down. They're like 3 levels up, 3 levels down, and it's just normal trading. I mean, you can see we had all the news and stuff going on in the market, didn't move more than a point. Other things move the bond market, not geopolitical stuff so much. But when it moves, you pay attention. That's the whole point. If the bond market moves, pay attention. If it doesn't move, okay. And then you can focus on the short-term whipsaws based on news headlines and so on and so forth. And then finally, not too much to say about the cryptos this morning. They're still pretty much running the way I have it. So they're pretty much running. Here's silver. is trading higher a little bit. It's retracing a little bit to the upside. Oil is trading up a little bit. Now up to like $100 a barrel now. There's some reports that they're trying to close the strait again, and they're playing games with that again. The oil is back up a few bucks. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, the crypto for Ethereum and Bitcoin is just kind of twisting in the wind. They trade very closely with it. Bitcoin trades pretty closely with the Nasdaq if you watch them closer together. Nasdaq's popping, looks like Bitcoin is popping, and vice versa. So there's some correlation there. And as I said, that version of the software is released, it's out there. I'm going to send some stuff out about it and see if I can get some more interest in people signing up for it. Anyway, so that's where we are, back to the ESN and NASDAQ. So holding pattern with twisting in the wind. In about 10 minutes, we'll see if we get that GDP and the personal income numbers. And that could be a little bit of action at that time. So we'll leave it there, guys. So good trading. I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update.